everyone! So today I am working on a custom Hypo Carno Fingerling as requested by hikigane Creatures as my part in an art trade with her. I'm very much excited to work on this art trade. She is by far one of my favourite artists. So first off, I'm removing the batteries. I don't want the internal wiring to be wrecked during the process. Now I'm just sketching out the parts that need to be cut off in order for me to be able to build horns and different other custom parts. It's kind of sad to see these beautiful rubbery parts go, but they're just going to get in the way of the new custom. So I'm using a 2-part epoxy putty here that I've just combined, and I'm now building the horns. So this is mistake number 1. I should have started off with a wire armature for the horns straight away just to give it strength, but I didn't want to drill into the head, so it sort of held me back from building a wire armature, but I eventually add one in because the horns are just not going to be stable without the wire armature. And you'll see me add that in a little bit. So right now I'm just fighting with the lack of strength in the horns while the clay sets, and it's just, you can see the horns are a bit too floppy. So here I am biting the bullet and just going, yep, it needs a wire armature. I have to figure out how to make that wire stable in the head without drilling holes. And thankfully, where the rubber is a nice little slot for the wire, and that's what I ended up using. So things worked out in the end. So now I'm just moulding the 2-part epoxy around the wire to hide it, and the whole structure is a lot more stable now for sculpting. And I'm just using my silicone tool to now shape it. Much easier to do now the horn is stable. So now I'm getting my Dremel and I'm dremeling and sanding off the tip of the tail. That ball point of the tail, even though it's cool, it's just too bulky and big for the Hypo Carno tail. So it's got to go. So time for question of the day. What is your favourite strain in the Isles, or what is your favourite Hypo? Definitely favourite Hypo is the Hypo Carno by far, but my favourite strand comes in as second as the Neurospino. They're both extremely cool, but Hypo Carno definitely my favourite. You can see the tail is nice and small and thin now. And now we're building the second horn, and I've gone ahead and added a wire like a good girl just for the armature. This horn was much easier to sculpt because it was stable. You'd think I'd know better by now, but nope, still learning. So time for second question. Who will get the Hypo Utar I'm currently working on? I'll insert a picture here for you to see. This is the Hypo Utar I'm working on. I have no idea whether I want to sell this guy or give it away. I'm kind of hoping that I can hold another Isles tournament to win this guy, just because he's so beautiful and cool. I get more of a kick out of seeing people win it rather than buy it. I don't know. So I'm hoping to offer it up to a couple of servers to see if they want to do a competition for it, but we'll see how that goes. I have no idea if that will go ahead. I haven't contacted anyone yet. It's all up in the air. If that's all a no, then I'll just probably sell it. So here I am using my silicone tools again to shape the horn out. I'm referencing photos of the Hypo Carno the whole time. References are very important. I should also mention that if you're interested in seeing Hikigane's part in the art trade, she is making me a fully posable Hypo Carno artist doll, and I'm extremely excited to be the owner of that. So she's still working on it. If you want to see how that turns out, please go check out her pages. So here I am just building up some more of the spine. I didn't want to go too into the exact detail of the Hypo Carno with its beautiful back spine it has going with its armor, because the Fingerling doesn't really... I don't think it would have worked with this Fingerling, so I sort of just took the idea and chibified it, if that makes sense, which meant lessened the detail and tried to work with what the Fingerling already had. I think it turned out quite nice. I'm quite happy with it, and it's still very recognizable as a Hypo Carno. I tend to see it as a baby version of a Hypo Carno, although I don't think you can get baby versions of Hypo Carnos in the game. That's not how it works. But I digress. So now I'm just using my ball tool just to blend the clay down to make sure it's actually got a grip of the plastic below. And then I'm bringing in my pointer tool just to carve out the edges so it looks like an actual horn growing out of the spine. Now I've started the difficult work of adding all the spines to the tail. It's only difficult just because there's so many little spikes and you've got to be careful not to knock them. Now I base coat it and I can finally see if my sculpted work actually looks good. I'm quite happy with it. I'm going in with a yellowy grey for the undertone of the belly. And of course I'm using Citadel paints. All these moving parts proved challenging through the whole process of this, just because I didn't want to seize them up. Now I'm working on the inside of the mouth. I had to be very careful here because this is where the speaker was, and I didn't want any paint leaking into the speaker and ruining all the electronics within inside, so it was very risky at this point. But thankfully it worked out in the end. I didn't wreck anything. I have a past history of wrecking sound equipment for my sculptures, but apparently I'm getting better at it. Okay, so now I'm going in with a more yellowy toned grey, so more on the yellow side of grey, sort of a browny grey I guess, for the next layer of undertone. I'm making sure I keep it all blended out. So now I'm bringing in a dark red for the first stage of the red. And I'm making sure I just, towards the edge of the red, I use a dry brushing method to sort of naturally blend it out. If that makes sense. I don't want a sharp edge on a creature that's supposed to be living. It doesn't quite look natural if it's not blended. And now I'm coming in with a very, very dark brown. It's not quite black. It looks almost black, but not quite. And I'm just eyeballing and referencing very closely where all the black starts to come in or the dark brown comes in on the Hypo Carno. And don't worry, I know the red's too dark at this stage. I come in with other colours very soon. You can see here I'm coming in with an orange, and I've already gone in with a lighter red just to bring out the actual colours of a Hypo Carno, or what I interpret. And now more of the dark brown. A lot of back and forth pushing the colours until I get what I want. And that's the finished paint job. Well, for the most part. Now I've got to paint the teeth and the eyes. So I'm going in with a high flow acrylic paint for the teeth, just because the white goes down so smoothly. It's the only colour I have trouble with in Citadel is the white. Now I'm going in with a Citadel yellow to start the golden eyes. So this is the base coat of the eyes. And I have to be very careful here to make sure I don't block up the eyes with too much paint, because they have to be able to move, because it's a mechanism within the toy, and I don't want them seizing up. They're also very hard to paint because the eyes just kept moving, and when you're trying to paint something so tiny and so specific with detail, the eyes just keep moving. It's frustrating. These pupils were very hard to do because, like I said, the eyes just kept trying to blink. It made my time painting them very, very hard. But I got there at the end, thankfully. Now I'm coming in with Liquitex High Gloss varnish, and I'm doing it on the toes, the claws, the teeth, and the eyes and the horns. The teeth, I'm only glossing the outside of the teeth where you can see them. If I gloss the inside of them, they're going to sort of stick together when the mechanism moves and prevent the jaw from actually opening. So just the outside of the teeth. And the eyes I'm being very careful with again to not jam up the mechanism. And I know some people in the past have said they didn't like the gloss on my Hypo Carnos on the horns. This is personal preference. I personally like the glossy horns because it adds another layer of sort of feeling with your eyes, if that makes sense. Like your eyes can see the different textures, as you can see here. And that's the finished guy. I think he looks adorable, and I'll show a video clip of this guy still working. I'm very happy with him. And there we have it. He still works. I'm very happy, and I hope hikigane likes him. He's very cute. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!